I'm from civil engineering department, and specifically I belong to the structural engineering group. So one of the drawbacks I have, okay, if one may call that, is that I am not traditional structural engineer. I work on many, in fact, mostly I work on problems which are associated with mechanics, but not directly with structures. So that is one somewhat of a difficulty I get, that to be a truly great teacher in the sense that students can really benefit from them. They need, it is very good, like for example, like Professor Chatterjee said, that having some industry experience, like actually working in that field, that gives you a completely different way in which you can approach students and teach them, which something I can't. But then what I do typically is I realize that my strengths are in understanding things from a lot of depth and getting into the subtleties and seeing the beauty in very much of those problems. For example, if you look at any standard text in engineering mechanics or structural mechanics, things are presented in a very rote manner. So what I try to do many times is to go into more depth of that, try to appreciate that, okay, what are the points which are swept under the rug, and then bring those out in the class. So essentially one thing I try to do as much as possible is that the students who come to the lectures, at least they cannot say that I have used textbooks X, Y, and Z in order to do something. So that is one thing I try to do. Fortunately, I have been teaching courses where this is possible. So many courses that I teach are easy but not trivial, and they are very much problem centric. So that way, what I try to do is teach, like bring one problem, okay, which is like a numerical, and try to do it from all possible angles. Teach them, okay, if you create a variation of this, how will things change? Okay, if you change some support conditions, what happens? So that way, I try to bring that perspective in my teaching. There is another thing which I have, which I am now completely convinced, is that students want like two things. Mainly one thing is they want good employment after they graduate. So they want you to teach them something which will make them employable, or they at least want to have fun, or both. So what I do is, like Professor Jha said, that I try to keep things light at times, crack jokes. Okay, whenever I feel that the class is asleep, then just divert their attention by uh, have some gentle ribbing at some students, or tell some parallel story and then bring them back to the point. So this is something I try to do to keep the atmosphere lively. And interaction is something which I try to have at the forefront, that at the very beginning of the semester, I tell them that I don't want to go on a monologue or a soliloquy. I want to have dialogue in the class. And that way I try to keep the class engaged as much as possible. And in the courses I teach, I will finish. In the courses I teach, we have these so-called tutorials, where, for example, we engage with students one-on-one. So that way, for example, I get to engage with many students one-on-one and have their difficulties, and then like solve those problems which otherwise they are shy to ask in the class, okay, and make them open up. So those are some of the things which I try. And one final thing is that I have realized that if I have fun while learning the material, that's when I feel that students get the most out of the lectures. So generally, I try to do new things. Like every semester may not be completely new, but bringing some new elements so that at least I am engaged. And if I have fun, then at least I don't have to pretend that the course is interesting, because at least I'm interested in it. So those are some of the things I try. Yeah.
I do want to just reiterate that, yeah, enthusiasm rubs off.
Right.
It's almost like they feed off you if they wish to. And how do you determine, like, students have this skewed notion of employability, right?
Yeah. So that was one
People
point.
just ahead of them who are still not really experienced, quote unquote, the world around them, telling them this is going to make you more employable. So it's in a way like a blind leading the blind kind of thing, and sometimes it can be a vicious cycle, counterproductive for student learning outcomes. So at what point do we as instructors feed into that? Yeah, this is going to up your market value, but really the cost benefit isn't as high as you think as it is.
Yeah. So what I do, for example, in the department I'm in, many students take non-core jobs. Okay, and so like Professor Ranjan Panda said, that I upfront tell them right in the beginning and reiterate that many times that in this class, I would make sure that you learn how to think. Okay, that the way we create the problems, the way we present the material, like we keep provoking them into thinking about every small details. And the idea that I keep telling them is that you will be facing various challenges, they will keep evolving, but the key constant behind everything is how to learn, is how to think. So if you can do that properly in the class, then that's when I feel that I have done my job.